Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today? How was your day today? Nice. We just talked last night, right?
I believe so. Yeah, it was last
Yeah.
night. I was about to hop off because, uh, sir, sir. I mean, you
Well,
asked
it's
me to
your
come
turn.
on, and you had
It's
me waiting like almost an hour. Like, sir, that was mad rude.
Hey,
Um,
listen. It's your turn, FL. The floor is yours. You get to talk as long as you want to. You get to go in depth as long as you want to. So, are you ready?
are you ready? Because you might not like what I have to say. So,
No, listen. Listen. I know this is your first time on my platform because we was on my guy's platform last night. But listen, we have respectful, constructive conversations here. So, like at the end of the day, it's never personal. We can always agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Yeah, I
All
respect
right,
that.
let's get into it. So, I just need you to be 100% honest though on these questions. All right.
Always.
All right. So, have you ever been physically attracted to a man and wanted to sleep with him, but didn't because you felt you hadn't received something you wanted from him or he hadn't earned it yet?
No, and
Okay,
I'll elaborate. Well,
go ahead.
I might be a little different, but I'm considered what you would call sapiosexual.
All
So
right.
unless you stimulate me mentally, I'm not doing anything with you. So the physical part comes later. Um, so yeah, unless I feel very intrigued, inspired, we have good conversation, it really has nothing to do with what you look like. Any guy that I've dealt with, they don't have a look, a type. It's more so, are we mentally compatible? That's what gets me going.
Let me ask you this. So obviously you said you're a sapiosexual and there's other people that are sapiosexuals as well. But even
Hmm.
for the women that don't consider themselves to be sapiosexuals, would you, if you were advising like men, would you
Hmm.
say it'll be a good practice to stimulate a woman mentally, um and by stimulating her mentally, and you're not stimulating her mentally only with the objective to get her draws, but just like by being able to stimulating a woman mentally, you can get like the best version of that woman. Would you say that?
Absolutely, but I honestly don't believe in performing. What I mean by that is people should be authentically themselves. So if you are someone who is cerebral, you're someone who loves to learn, you're someone who loves to have new experiences, that's going to come naturally. It shouldn't be something that you're doing no matter what the goal is with the woman. You should be doing, because anyone who's performing cannot act forever. This is why men fail when it comes to dealing with women, because they can't consistently keep up the act.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, of course, I would say for your own benefit, you need to be educating yourself, having new experiences, opening up yourself to new things. But it definitely shouldn't be because you're trying to you're trying to reach some end goal.
Right.
If you do it naturally, the women will come.
Right.
It will be like butter. Like, it will not be, it's not as complicated as a lot of people make it seem.
Right. I agree. All right. So, second question. If a woman is genuinely physically attracted to a man and wants to sleep with him, is
Mhm.
it wrong for her to sleep with him without getting anything first?
I don't make rules for people. I feel like everyone's morals, everyone's character, everyone's level of what they, what is good to someone may be bad for somebody else. You know what I mean? I think if we, again, are being honest with ourselves, if a woman wants to have a situation where sex will necessarily see it that way, but if that person feels okay with that, then that's between the two of them. Um, yeah. I don't think it's my right to police another woman what she does with her body. You know what I mean? If she wants to do it with no strings attached, then that's it. If she has standards where she expects something to be given to her, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, whether it's financially, whether it's physically first, then that's on her.
Do you think, now I'm not, I'm asking you what you think now. Do you think a woman sleeping with a man without getting anything first, do you feel like that woman is being taken advantage of? Do you feel like she's being used? And she
Again,
genuinely
it's
finds the man, she genuinely
mhm,
finds the man physically attractive, and she wants to sleep
mhm,
with him. But I'm asking you,
yeah,
if she doesn't get anything before she sleeps with him, do you, FL, do you think that
uh-huh.
she's being used or taken advantage of?
Again, I'm respecting your question, but the only way I could say yes or no is if the she is me, because someone else may not feel like they're being used because they're coming into it understanding what this is about. I mean, women have been doing this forever. Women and men are just as sexual. Like there's not one gender that's more sexual than the other. So if someone doesn't feel like something's being taken from them by having sex, then that's them. Now, would I feel that way? If you want to switch it to me,
Yeah.
again, it depends. Now, if I felt like I got what I needed mentally, or whether it was something else that stimulated me in some way, and I felt like I wanted to exchange my energy with this person, by all means, unless I feel like I am being taken from the right to say no or yes, then I willingly went into it. Why would I feel used?
All right. So, what do you think about women who want something? So when I say want something, I'm talking about the woman that, you know, they, again, they find a man to be physically attractive. They want to sleep with that man. If they had the opportunity to sleep with that man, they would sleep with him, but
Mhm.
they either need to be compensated first. They need to be, that man needs to buy them what they deem to be valuable materialistic items. He needs to take her on a trip. He needs to pay a bill or several bills. He needs to do something that she wants before, she drops those draws. What do you specifically, FL, think about women that have that mentality and move like that out here?
What do I think of them? I don't judge women. Prostitution is, if that's what you want to consider it, an
No,
exchange
I'm
of,
asking you. Do you see
yeah.
them? Is it giving escort and prostitute vibes? Do you see it in that
Um,
light?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. I mean, I feel like usually when someone is labeling themselves as a prostitute or an escort, it's understood or it's a conversation. A lot of women have that standard and they don't lead with it, but the expectation is there. But again, I'm not going to tell another woman what she should do. If she feels like she needs to get something else in return from it, that's on her. And I'll tell you, the men in my life who've told me about either their stories or their colleagues or families or friends, the men who trick on women do not complain about this stuff. They know what they're getting into. They have it and they want to partake in it. In fact, there are men who will say publicly that they're against prostitution, but go ask a prostitute. Most of their customers are married men who uphold this image in public, and but in private it's a whole different situation. So again, I don't go around telling people what they should do with their bodies and what they should do with their coins. So it's not really for me to tell them that if they expect something that it's prostitution, because again, prostitution has is the it is the first occupation. Um it is what it is.
No,
It
I
Sex
100%
work is sex work. You know what I mean? It's work. So
I agree with you, and I understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, a prostitute is a woman that, um she accepts payment to have sex. Correct.
yes.
So whether this woman is, you know leading or being, she's communicating to the man that, hey, I am a prostitute or I
Hmm.
am an escort. She doesn't have to communicate that, those specific words or indicate that, those words out of her mouth for
Hmm.
her to be any of those things. If that's how you are operating, I like, for example, if a woman is not sleeping with men unless they pay her, she is being a prostitute. Whether she wants to acknowledge herself or put herself out there as a prostitute, she's being a prostitute. Can we agree to that?
That's again, the label is not the issue. I think the judgment is the issue. If you
But
want
but
to name her a prostitute, then that's fine, because if you're going into semantics and saying she's exchanging sexual acts for money, that's fine. The issue is I'm not about to pass judgment and make it seem like that's wrong, because that's not my place to
but
say.
I'm but FL, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not asking you if you think it's wrong. All I'm saying is if we agreed, if we all here know that a prostitute is someone that exchanges sexual favors for money, whether a woman doesn't have to be standing out on a track waving at cars for her to be a prostitute. If she is not sleeping with men unless they pay her, she is being a prostitute.
No, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, based on how you worded the question, it's implying that there's a level of judgment there. And I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation of how you're
Okay.
asking it. It's
Okay.
coming off as we're trying to other the women who do so. And what I'm saying is that's on them. You know what I mean? And if men weren't willing to pay for it, it would not exist.
Correct. But and I acknowledge what you're saying, but and I want to speak to something you said as well. You said, because like you said, these women, they say that their customers are married men, and there are men that they're more than okay with what we like to call tricking. But just
Mhm.
because a man is like willing to quote unquote trick FL, that
Mhm.
doesn't take away from the fact that that woman is an escort or that woman is a prostitute. There's just a man that's willing to pay for that service, and he's open about paying for that service. It doesn't change what the woman is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and again, I respect your perspective on it. Again, and I'll just say this. I know that the whole label, I'm a type of person, I really don't like labels when it comes to other people. I might categorize myself, but if that's what someone wants to label them, that's fine. But let's make it something very clear. From my perspective, men have always paid for sex, okay? Whether it was physically putting that money in her hand, we are having a conversation of whether women should get something out from having sex with the man, only because feminism has opened the floodgates to men having access to women without marrying them. Before then, you had to pay to get in the draws. You had to marry her. It was required. So now that we've taken that off, because now women no longer are obligated to be in marriages that are toxic and now can have sexual freedoms, now we have a conversation where men are now shunning women for expecting something in exchange. Because let me tell you, another reason why these women may want to secure themselves financially is because women and men do not have the same experience when it comes to sex. It is not an even exchange. If you look at the statistics, the amount of women who get climax from their exchange is very low. So no, it's not. You're always going to get yours most likely, and those women will not. So yeah, they're going to want something in exchange. In addition, we're more susceptible to getting to contracting STDs from the sexual act, just based on how our bodies are designed. We receive. So that is another factor that you have to take into consideration. But then let's not forget the most important one: children. If women are putting their lives, not their bodies, their lives at risk every time they engage in sexual acts, it's understandable that some women will want some type of compensation for that risk. I'm not saying every woman does, but I understand those who do.